Welcome back, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for another explainer. Today, we're decoding the hidden rules of modern economics. Specifically, we're going to look at why shifting from passive saving to actual ownership is basically the ultimate key to building wealth. Because, let's be honest, if you've ever felt like the financial game is somehow rigged against you, well, you're absolutely in the right place. So, let's jump right in.
Okay, let's dive right into this. I want you to imagine, just for a second, waking up tomorrow and your salary has magically doubled, right? But you're working harder than ever, putting in those crazy long hours, and somehow your savings just barely grow. Your bills go up. Honestly, it feels like you're running faster and faster on a treadmill that was never actually designed to let you win, which really begs the question, why does working harder rarely make you wealthier? Well, the truth is, in our modern financial system, effort alone simply doesn't guarantee financial success anymore.
For decades, we were all handed this very specific, almost sacred blueprint. Study hard, get good grades, find a stable job, buy a house, and save your cash for retirement. Now, don't get me wrong, this traditional plan was brilliant if you lived in the 1960s or maybe even the 80s. But today's economy, it operates under completely different rules. I mean, we're seeing the costs of housing, healthcare, and just daily living dramatically outpace wage growth. So following that old plan today is kind of like trying to navigate a brand new modern city using a paper map from 50 years ago. It just doesn't work.
Think about playing a game of Monopoly. You can roll the dice perfectly, you can work hard, you can pass go and collect your money every single time. But if you sit down at that board without actually understanding the underlying mechanics of the game, you're going to lose to someone who does. Period. And real life works the exact same way. From childhood, we're taught how to earn money, sure, but almost nobody teaches us how money actually moves. And that leaves most people in a really dangerous spot, playing a high-stakes game without actually knowing the rules.
So let's look at the fundamental difference here. On one hand, you have earning income. Think of an incredibly hardworking construction worker exchanging a fixed 24 hours of time for a salary. Now, the problem there is when the work stops, the income stops. But building wealth, that's an entirely different animal. That's about creating or owning assets that generate value while you sleep. The reality of the modern economy is that it doesn't just reward your effort. It overwhelmingly rewards ownership, it rewards leverage, and it rewards scarcity.
And this brings us to a trap that so many genuinely intelligent people fall into. We call it lifestyle inflation. You know how it goes. You get a raise, you celebrate, but a few months later, that extra income just vanishes into a nicer apartment, a newer car, or just more subscriptions. Every single increase in your income is exactly matched by an increase in your spending, which keeps your actual financial position completely flat. So instead of your income buying you freedom, it basically turns your hard-earned cash into a beautifully decorated cage of comfort, complete with a sunroof and a much higher monthly payment.
Beyond our own spending habits, there's also the massive structural headwind of inflation, constantly working against us. Now, inflation doesn't drain your bank account directly. In fact, you check your balance the next morning and it looks exactly the same. But instead, it acts like this invisible thief in the night. It quietly erodes the foundation of your passive savings, making every single dollar do just a little less work for you each day. So your purchasing power drops and you never even get a single alert from your banking app.
Let's put that into perspective. Think about $100,000. Imagine a guy named Alex puts that exact amount in physical cash inside a totally secure safe. He locks it up, doesn't touch it for 10 years. When he finally opens that safe a decade later, every single dollar bill is still sitting right there. Relying entirely on uninvested cash feels so secure, right? But it's actually a guaranteed way to lose your purchasing power. Out in the real world, prices have risen, meaning that exact same stack of cash buys significantly less than it did 10 years ago.
But here's the thing. Inflation isn't a villain for everyone. In reality, it's a massive wealth transfer. While it absolutely punishes fixed cash savers like Alex by jacking up everyday cost, it can actually reward owners. If you own appreciating assets or maybe a business with strong pricing power, kind of like Alex's friend Michael, who diversified into long-term investments instead of a safe, inflation can actively push your net worth higher. The economy just isn't a level playing field. It operates completely differently depending on whether you're merely passively saving or if you're aggressively owning.
Ultimately, money has two completely different values. There's the number printed right there on the bill, and then there's the leverage that bill actually gives you out in the real world. So many people spend their entire lives endlessly chasing a bigger paycheck. But true financial awareness, That's about shifting your focus away from just the paycheck and instead protecting what those dollars can actually acquire for you over time.
Which naturally leads us to a word that terrifies some people and completely excites others: debt. So is debt a powerful financial tool, or is it a dangerous trap? Well, the truth is, it can absolutely be either. But the really uncomfortable reality of dark economics is that many people out there don't own debt. Debt owns them. It just quietly collects monthly payments for a car, a phone, a credit card, until it slowly, month by month, strips away all their future choices.
Now, what's really interesting here is that debt essentially has two faces. First, there's trapping debt or consumption debt. Think of someone, let's call him David, stretching his budget to the absolute limit just to finance a rapidly depreciating luxury car. But then on the flip side, there's building debt or leverage debt. This is like Emma taking out a strategic loan to finance productive assets, maybe purchasing new equipment or opening a new business. One type of debt severely limits your future flexibility and turns you into a lifelong payer. The other, when used wisely, actually buys you leverage and dramatically accelerates your growth.
And this brings us right to the core mindset shift of true wealth builders. Instead of asking what this money can buy, ask yourself what it can build. Seriously, that single realization is the defining difference between those who merely earn and those who truly own. For a lot of people, accumulating the money is the final destination, but for successful long-term wealth builders, money is quite literally just the raw material.
Let's look at Sarah the earner versus James the owner. Now, they both make the exact same, really high salary. But every single time Sarah gets paid, she immediately upgrades her lifestyle. Bigger houses, newer cars, the works. James, on the other hand, consistently funnels his income into long-term income-producing assets. The massive gap in their net worth after, say, a decade? It won't be about intelligence, it won't be about earning power, it will entirely be about where they directed their dollars right after payday.
And James's strategy works so well because he utilizes leverage. Now, leverage is simply using systems, technology, capital, or teams to create exponentially more value than your own two hands could ever produce. Think about it. If you want a bakery and you personally bake all the bread and mop all the floors yourself, you are severely limited by the clock. There are only so many hours in a day. But if you own the systems and hire the staff, your business can serve thousands. You completely separate your earning potential from your physical time.
And that leverage is exactly what unlocks compounding. When you own assets rather than just passively stashing cash under the mattress, your small financial gains can be consistently reinvested. They generate their own returns over long periods. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill, becoming an autonomous wealth engine. When you build wealth through ownership, you stop relying purely on your own speed, and instead you finally let time do the heavy lifting for you.
So making this shift to ownership fundamentally changes how you view money. It becomes all about building, not just buying. Debt transforms into a tool for value creation rather than a trap for mindless consumption. Leverage becomes your growth engine, and time becomes your absolute greatest asset. Now, obviously, there's no single guaranteed path here, and investing always involves some level of risk. But this intense focus on ownership over passive saving, that is the historic blueprint for real, lasting financial security.
I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to consider today. Are you spending your life working to earn, or are you working to own? The rules of this hidden economic game are out there, and now that you've seen them, you have the power to decide exactly how you want to play. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep building, and I will see you next time.